When we think about the Bible, we often imagine stories of ancient Israel prophets and disciples, but did you know that African or black people played crucial roles throughout the biblical narrative? From the Old Testament to the New Testament, Africans appear at key moments, shaping God's plan in ways you might not have noticed. Today we're going to uncover the rich history of African heritage in the Bible. Let's dive in. Our journey begins in the book of Genesis. After the flood, Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From Ham came the nations of Cush, Mizraim, Egypt, and Put, places we associate with modern-day Ethiopia, Egypt, and Libya, the sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. These African nations had a profound impact on biblical history. Have you ever wondered how these nations influenced the Bible's story? Let's look at one of Ham's descendants, Nimrod, to find out. Nimrod, the son of Cush, is described as a mighty warrior and the first powerful ruler mentioned in the Bible. Cush was the father of Nimrod, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Nimrod founded cities like Babel and is seen as a symbol of leadership and strength. Could it be that many of the early innovations and developments were led by African people like Nimrod? Next, we turn to one of the most iconic African figures in the Bible, the Queen of Sheba. She ruled a wealthy kingdom in modern-day Ethiopia or Yemen and traveled to visit King Solomon, fascinated by his wisdom. When the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. The Queen of Sheba wasn't just wealthy, she was wise, and she came to test Solomon's intellect. Her story reveals that African leaders were both respected and influential. Could African royalty, like the Queen of Sheba, have been major players in the world's spiritual and cultural history? Even Moses, one of the Bible's most important figures, had an African wife. In the book of Numbers, Moses marries a woman from Cush, which is modern-day Ethiopia. Miriam and Aaron began to talk against Moses because of his Cushite wife, for he had married a Cushite. When Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses for marrying an African woman, God responded harshly by striking Miriam with leprosy. This story reminds us that God does not tolerate racial prejudice. What can we learn from God's reaction to this criticism? In the New Testament, we meet the Ethiopian Eunuch, an important official in the Queen's court. He was reading the prophet Isaiah on his journey, and Philip explained the scriptures to him, leading to his conversion. So he started out, and on his way he met an Ethiopian eunuch. This man had gone to Jerusalem to worship. This Ethiopian official became one of the first African converts to Christianity. How incredible is it that the gospel reached Africa so early on? What does this tell us about the spread of Christianity beyond Israel? As Jesus carried his cross to Golgotha, he collapsed under the weight. A man named Simon of Cyrene, modern-day Libya, was called to help him. A certain man from Cyrene, Simon, the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by, and they forced him to carry the cross. Simon of Cyrene, an African man, was there during one of the most significant moments in history. Have you ever considered how Simon's act of compassion connects Africa to the heart of the gospel? Finally, we come to the prophet Zephaniah, who is believed to be of African descent, being a descendant of Cush. The word of the Lord that came to Zephaniah, son of Cushi. Zephaniah was chosen by God to deliver warnings to the people of Judah. What does his story tell us about God's inclusion of people from different nations and backgrounds in his plan? From Nimrod and the Queen of Sheba to the Ethiopian Eunuch and Simon of Cyrene, African people have shaped the biblical story in powerful ways. Their contributions remind us that God's plan has always included people from every nation, background, and race. As we reflect on the roles of African people in the Bible, we must ask ourselves, how does this rich heritage shape the way we understand Scripture today? What can we learn from the diversity within God's story of redemption? Join the conversation, comment below with your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe for more biblical insights.